You're listening to the Current Plays Podcast, Season 3, Episode 32, The Hobbit, There and Back Again. Now please welcome your hosts, Jordan and Thomas. And welcome back, tricksy little hobbitses. This week we are talking about The Hobbit, There and Back Again. This is a game designed by none other than Reiner Knizia, with art by Lorenzo Colong. Oh, jeez.
You'll get it. You'll
Brutal.
get it.
Colangeli.
Nice.
All right. Which, by the way, the art is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah.
It's a 1 to 4 player game with a BGG weight rating of 1.82 out of 5. So a bit of a lighter one for the games that we typically play.
Yeah, and I'd even say that 1.8, whatever that was it seems a little high.
Yeah.
But we are I feel like our view of games are often, especially in regards to the BGG rating, it's often a little skewed for difficulty, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we often don't agree. It goes both ways, right? Like sometimes we're like, oh, this is way too high, and then other times we're like, no, that's way too low, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But this is it's a roll and write by Reiner Knizia, which he doesn't normally do roll and writes. But this game, yeah, it works quite well.
Yeah. It's so funny because I'm pretty sure in the last episode I talked about, not being a huge fan of Reiner oh my goodness, I just can't do it. I said it fine in that episode. Knizia. I'm not a big fan. And then of course this game is my exception
Right.
a game because it feels less of a mathy puzzle and more honestly, this is a big, randomness fest because it is based on, die rolling and whatnot. And if
Hmm.
things just don't come up, they don't come up. Or if things do come up and, on your turn kind of thing, you luck out kind of thing, right? But
But it's
yeah, yeah,
an
yeah.
it's a input randomness, which I like.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, and I like it better than output randomness for sure.
Yeah, and what's nice about this is because it is a lighter sort of fare, and it plays relatively quickly. Like we played last night, three different maps, right? So this
Yeah.
game comes with essentially four books, and they're nice, kind of like dry erase, thicker cardboard books that each player gets. There's four of them in here, and they have, I believe it's 8 levels in these books, right? So we played three of them last night, and I mean, yeah, 30 minutes, and that was us really taking our time.
Yeah.
Yeah, 30, 40 minutes maybe. You could probably get this down to even faster if you were just kind of like rolling through it. But there's a few times you were like, I got to really think about what die I want to take here, right?
Hmm.
But with that in mind, with it only being 30 minutes and it being light and there being some random, it's not a big deal. Um, if you're not doing well or the rolls aren't coming up because it'll be over soon, right? Yeah, and then you can play the next level, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So
And you can trounce me on that one too.
Well, I mean, sure. I the first two, but you brought it back in the third one and shut me right down there on that third level, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, the way this one works is you have a hand of there's 5 dice, and instead of having like pips on the dice, three of them are dice with uh, essentially movement on them. And when I say movement, it is depictions of like roads, right? So you might have, a crossroad, you might have, a road that's straight but takes up kind of two positions or whatever, two squares, and you're drawing these roads onto the maps of the various, levels that you're playing, right? So, for example, in the first map, you're collecting dwarves to bring them to Hobbiton, um, to meet Bilbo, essentially, right? As the meeting between Thorin and the rest of the dwarves and Gandalf and the new thief Bilbo, right? So you're connecting these lines, the pathways on this grid of squares, and trying to connect all the dwarves to Hobbiton and feed them bread because in this scene in the book, Bilbo is feeding all the many dwarves that show up at his place unexpectedly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you three of these dice are these various road selections, and then the other two dice are basically resources, and the resources are between wizard hats, bread, and swords, right? And it's a mixed combination of, there's two breads on one of the dice and two wizard hats on one of the dice and two swords on one, and then a lot of singles of each of those resources on those dice, right?
Right,
Uh,
right.
but because there's only two of those dice, if you have a, level that is really focused on bread, you just might not roll bread. You might get a lot of swords and wizard hats, and that just could be unlucky, right?
Hmm.
Or, you know, the way the game plays is one player will pick up this handful of five dice, roll them all. They'll select one die, your opponent will select one, and you go back and forth. So, in a two-player game, the first player is getting three dice and the second player is only getting two, right? If only one of those dice on your roll rolls up bread, okay, I take the bread. And now you have, the other player has no access to the bread, right? Of course, there's all trade-offs and what you want to trade. Maybe you're giving up some decent sized roads. Maybe you're not giving up anything bad. And it's clearly an easy pick of a die, right? And then on the next turn, it's the opposite, right? Your opponent's going to take the dice, roll them, and pick first, and they'll end up with the three dice instead of the two, right?
Right.
So it's a very, very, very simple game. But each map comes with sort of a different puzzle you got to figure out and do something with, right? And I don't want to spoil them too much because it's cool. If you get this game, you kind of want to play and experience everyone. The first one is I was happy to talk about the dwarves because it's the first one you're going to open and be like, oh, okay, this is a game. But like each map brings some, like I said, some sort of puzzle and it's slightly different, right? And
Yeah,
that,
which
yeah, go ahead.
was
Yeah.
nice.
It was nice, right? Because it wasn't, I don't think you could play the first map over and over and over in a single sitting, right? That would get stale. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
nice that you do get a bit of a mix up here. Okay, in this one, here's the rules, and this one, here's the rules, and so
Yeah.
on, right? So yeah, I thought
Yeah,
it
like
was
the different maps were like quite different. Like they played different, the rules were slightly different. The way you scored was different, so what you had to focus on was different. Like
yeah.
without any spoilers, and actually in the car on my way home from work, I was thinking, how am I going to describe this very visual concept on an audio podcast? But here we go. So on the first map, like you said, you're trying to connect all these dwarves to Bilbo's house. Um, and you roll the dice, and like you said, you're making roads basically. And the way you do it, you've got the map is made of squares, and the paths are shown on the dice, and you make these paths by drawing down the middle of these squares. So if you have, let's say, a path that's a straight line from the covers two squares, you're going to go down the middle of two squares. So that's great. But now if you need to turn, right? If you get let's say you get another straight line, you're going to have to go over top of one of those squares you've already done in order to turn, because if you go one square over to try and be efficient, well, it doesn't match, it doesn't meet up because, so let's say the vertical line goes down the middle of the squares and you need to put a horizontal line, it wouldn't touch. There'd be half of a square missing. So
Yeah,
you have to
yeah,
overlap it and make a cross basically. And that's inefficient because
yeah.
you're placing paths in the same square twice. So it's like an efficiency puzzle to, yeah, how can I connect all these different spaces on the board to one space efficiently without having to double up on spaces. Um, and so yeah, sometimes you have a path going on the right, and then the dice that roll, you're like, well, these aren't efficient for that path, so I'm going to start a new path because I might be able to do something more efficiently over here. But then on the next map, throw that all away because you're just making a path and you can only go off of an existing path. Like
Yeah.
there's no starting a new path somewhere else. It's nope, you have to continue off of where you were. So what you roll, that's what you get, and you just have to make it work, right?
Yeah, so it becomes like a thing where you're drafting the dice, and sometimes like I mentioned with, taking the only bread, sometimes it's taking the only good path
Hmm.
die, and then especially when you have dice that have, say two movement, right? Two squares that they move across. Some of them do three squares that they move across, right?
Yeah,
You pick one of those, and maybe all that's left is two single space movements, and maybe one of them is just like a corner move, like it goes from say the north side to the east side of a single square. How do you place that, right? Especially if you're trying to go in a straight line. You're like,
right,
well, I don't need this, and now I'm just going to add it to my straight line, and now I'm curving to the east, right? Okay, I don't want to do that, so I place it over top of a existing, you know, square that I've already drawn in, and now I have more, exits to leave that tile with, right? So it's
right,
it's again, yeah, you're right. It's this efficiency puzzle. It's kind of it's also to a degree a bit of a race, because oftentimes you have an end goal that you're working towards. And this one does it in an interesting way where it really doesn't matter turn order wise. The game ends when whatever the finishing condition is met. And as soon as it's met, done. It could
yeah,
be the last die that's taken in a round. It could be the first die is taken in a round, right? And we saw that, I think, twice. I want to say on in our game last night is that, the second map I rolled, and then I took one die and was I'm ending this game right here, and then
yep,
ended it on my turn, first die, right? And then I think in the third game you did the exact same thing back to me,
yeah, yeah,
first roll, and then there was a piece that got you to the exit, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take that right now,"
yeah.
and
I'm gonna skip
forget
over
it.
some
Yeah,
points to just finish this game so that you can't get any more points.
yeah, yeah. So it's for being such a light game like this. It's neat to have sort of those similar strategies you'd have on like a bigger game where you're, okay, do I score some points now and now I rush the end to say, yeah, I win with my few extra points, or do I try and score big points and get a big, massive lead, even if my opponent finishes the game,
Right.
I still scored a bunch of points, right? And maybe I'll win that way, even though I didn't get all the way to the exit of the map or something, right? So yeah, neat thought process there. which honestly doesn't really surprise me with it being a Reiner Knizia game, um, because of his chops as a designer, right?
Hmm.
So it's no surprise that it plays well, and there is some there's thought that needs to go into it, right? Um, yeah, yeah,
I thought too, I loved how the way you scored points in this game. So again, every map is different, but so pretty much every map, and I think there are some exceptions. Uh, the paths are obviously one way to score points. So be that you're trying to get to certain areas, you're trying to race to cross certain thresholds, which gives you bonus points. You're trying to race to the end, whatever the case may be. And then it'll focus on one or two resources as well. So let's take the first map for example. You needed bread because
yeah.
you needed bread to feed the dwarves. And then the wizard hats go towards basically rewards that you can buy. So it was often you can buy paths or you can buy either the bread or the swords, right? Now, in this map, the swords weren't really used. You didn't really need the swords. So what did the swords do? They just scored you points. So it's like here's a resource you don't need, except if you collect it, you can get big points if you collect enough by the end. So
Yeah.
it's slowing down your progress in the other areas, but scoring you big points. And I tend to I see these and I always have this thought in my head like, oh, I can't do everything. So either I'm going to focus on grabbing these swords or I'm going to focus on collecting points in other ways. And then so I ignore the swords. So then you grab up the swords and then you somehow keep up with me on everything else too. And then you do get everything. And I have
Yeah.
no idea how you consistently do this to me. But you do. You consistently do this to me.
It's so funny because in that match too, like I even said it when I was explaining the rules, I was like, no one's gonna get max swords, so whatever, swords is another, and I've never collected swords I've played that first map probably four times. Once by myself, once with my son, maybe three. Once with my son, and then once with you. Actually, no, four, because I played with my daughter as well. So yeah, like four times. Not once have I ever scored max on the swords on that. I've always kind of ignored it because I was like, you know what, this is just it distracts from the the
Right.
objective of the map,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And but yeah, and this is another thing for like the whole math thing behind this, like the design behind it, because in future maps, there's emphasis on different resources, right? And
Yep.
it's never one to one. Like it's not like, oh, this map was food, and then that map is swords, and then this map is it's not like that, but to a degree, like I was looking at some of the numbers. So in the first map, you get like, I think it's like 5 points if you have between one and four swords collected at the end. And then if you have between yeah, so one and four, and then 10 and 14, you get 10 points. And then 15 plus, I can't remember exactly, but like it all of a sudden it like exponentially grew once you
Right.
had 15 plus or something, right? It was like 30 points or something like that, right? And that was kind of a big jump. But then on a later map, there was a separation between swords and bread, and the it flipped. The bread sort of followed that path of being like, oh, you can score a lot, but the swords not so much. You could still score points, but it wasn't at the same rate as the bread. But then
Yeah.
you use swords in other areas, and you didn't use bread in other areas, or you did, and so really, really interesting and again, I always find this fascinating with games, what the decision space was there and how the balance works, and how the math of the balance works too, right?
And
That I'm
in a
always curious
Knizia
with.
game, the math balance is going to be spot on.
100%. And that's it, right? So I'd love to be in his brain, just seeing how he kind of like solves for that balance. And maybe he doesn't. Maybe we're all just like, well, he's obviously he's got a doctorate in, maths.
Right.
So we all assume that, yeah, he's got, maybe it's just all made up and we just,
He's just
you know,
phoning it in, and everyone's just bowing down, like, "Oh, you're the
yeah,
best."
yeah, yeah. But we have to assume that, yeah, he's balanced it all up because,
It seems balanced pretty well.
it seems balanced pretty well. Honestly, I've played around with balance with numbers, and it's tricky. Like I've used ChatGPT to put together Python scripts to figure out balance of numbers, right?
Hmm.
And that's, playing around with scripting to be able to do that, to be like, okay, what's the probability of, you know, rolling this many dice and rolling this result or this type of result or something, right? And it's way too much to like calculate in my head. So, obviously the scripting helps, but I feel like Reiner Knizia is just like, yep, yeah, there we go. Write this down and we're good, right? Again, I have no idea, but I feel like that's just the case, right? Yeah, yeah. But
He's just doing
it's
like quadratic equations in his head.
exactly that
Yeah.
whole meme of the numbers. Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, no, this one is I like it because it's a nice light. It's not brain burning at all. You're just selecting dice and then, putting your
Mhm.
marking where you go. But inevitably, you'll be stuck on two dice and be like, do I go with this one? Do I go with that one? Then you'll select one, then you'll be like, do I put it over here?
Hmm.
Or do I put it over here? You'll do that, and then the next roll, it's like,
I wish
I
I'd done
should
the
have
other.
picked the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I should have placed this on the other side, like I was thinking, right? And yeah, and that happens all the time, right?
Yep.
And I feel like the first two matches for ours, you were in that position every time, right? And I was just rolling things up and being like, oh yeah, this fits perfectly here, and then we'd roll again, and it'd be like, oh look, and this connects to it too. And it wasn't to
How?
the third match that it flipped, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times last night did I say, "Where were you last turn?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Why didn't you roll last time? Come on."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
No, it was good. Yeah, like I had a bit of a rough go the first couple of maps. Because I feel like I played, especially the first map. I feel like I played it really efficiently. And
yeah. Yeah.
despite playing it efficiently, you still whoop me, right? And like that's fine. Like I'm not butthurt over it. Like I had a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's just the part of the randomness that it's inherent in dice, right?
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
I do, like I said before, I do really like the input randomness. So this game is very much for me uh a cross between the Princess Bride storybook game
Yes. Yeah.
and Roth.
Oh, that's an interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, because you've got the dice drafting mechanic, and I just quickly looked. We actually haven't covered Roth yet, which is kind of unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I've had that game on my shelf
Yeah.
for like ever now. And it was really hot when it for a little bit there.
Yeah. Yeah. We got that when you got that when we were breaking, right? So yeah, there's a few
Oh, right.
games
That's why.
that we hit up and have recently replayed because another one that we did this season was Black Forest, right? where we played in that dry spell there and then didn't record anything for them, right?
Right.
So yeah, a few of the Ezra Nehemiah, another one that we've gone in this season, but played it way back and then
Yeah.
didn't record anything for it. So yeah, Roth fell into that group too.
And that's another game where you have this dice drafting mechanic, which I think is great. Like it's because you roll at the beginning of the round and then it's like that's what you guys got. And now you
Hmm.
have to prioritize because okay, if I take this, this is what I really want. But then I'm giving my opponent this one and
Yeah.
that's what they really need. So can I use that one instead and still use it like well and deny my opponent, or do I just take the one that I need and give them the one they need? And I don't know, hopefully mine benefits me more than theirs benefits theirs, but or them. But like, yeah, that's
I
that's the
definitely use that many times, right? I'd
right.
be like, oh, okay, there's two spots, two dice up there. One's like a double straight path, and one's a straight path into a curved path, right? And then I'd look at your board and be like, okay, if I give you the double straight, that helps you out. But if I give you the double curve, then like you can't turn there. So like you're spending another turn to overlap that turn portion. I was like, okay, great. I'll take the double straight and leave you
Yeah.
with that one, right? Like you still want to take it because it's a double, you're hitting two squares, but it's just less efficient, right?
Hmm.
Which yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, making those decisions on drafting. And honestly, like last night my goal was actually play Grand Austria Hotel. Um, but then I came home to like stuff breaking. The sump
Came home to
pump, yeah,
chaos.
yeah, pipe burst, and then barbecue caught on fire. It was all these fun things, and then I'm just like, I can't mentally
Yeah.
handle that game. So let's take a which is Grand Austria is another dice drafting game, right? So let's take a
Yeah.
lighter version of a dice drafting game and play that, right? Uh,
Smart.
and it was good because it turned my night around for sure from going like, oh, the stresses of home ownership, which is always a fun one to complain about with people going, oh yeah, oh, you
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
home ownership. Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, okay, I get it. I get it.
There's a my wife watches this channel. It's on YouTube or Instagram. I think it's YouTube, and it's called
Yes.
FUCK This House.
Yes. Yeah, I love that dude. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hilarious. Yeah. But he gets it. He gets it, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So like that, yeah, yeah. Those are the the fun things you got to deal with. But yeah, so it was nice to play something lighter, right?
I've been jonesing for some of your games, including Grand Austria Hotel
Yes.
um and including Tiletum.
Hmm.
I've been wanting to replay those ones, but I also really wanted to check out this game too. So I'm happy you brought it out.
Yeah, honestly,
Um,
like it was like I said, Austria, and then I was okay. What can I put on the table that it is fun? I know the rules to, and you haven't really played yet. And I was like, oh, I don't know another time that I would bring that one out, right? Because we typically play heavier games and more, Grand Austria style, right?
mhm.
With the heaviness there. So yeah, it was nice to be able to pull that out and be like, I wanted to show it to you because it was, you had gifted me this game, right? So I was excited to show that, and it ended up working out nicely that I got to do that. Got to give my, mental fullness a break.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
yeah, for
for
because I
sure.
can't think of the proper terminology, but yeah. So it was nice to get this one out and do that, and well, we can Grand Austria will be coming again too, which I don't think we've spoken about that one
on the podcast?
Well,
We
we
might
have
not
maybe in
have.
like season two or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's been a bit between that one. I
Not
did look
focused
at,
on it.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Tileton, we have talked in this season about that one. I think it was like our
Okay.
third episode of this season. So somewhere around there. Yeah, yeah.
So bringing it back to The Hobbit,
Yes, yeah.
um, man, so the levels or the missions or the boards, whatever you want to call it, they follow the chapters of the book
Yes.
and they're so thematic and like the design of the levels is so cleverly done around those chapters. And then the artwork, oh my God,
Mm,
it's so good.
yeah, yeah.
It's
It makes me want to play the rest of the chapters with you just so you can see the rest of the artwork and
yeah.
experience the rest of the chapters, right? And the different rules that go on in each of the chapters. I will say, if I have one criticism, the farther you get in the book, the more convoluted some of those rules get for some of the later maps, where
Okay.
I'm reading them and going, I have no idea what this is trying to say to me. And I play really complex games, but this is just worded so poorly that I'm just like, I don't know where we're going here.
Huh.
Um, but you figure it out and then you go, okay, that makes sense. And it's fun throughout the entire game, right? And each, like we said, every page feels different, which is really neat. And then sometimes, like if they use the same mechanic, you're like, okay, I understand how this mechanic works because we used it back then, but it's done
Mm,
in a different way, which is really neat.
that is neat.
So yeah, yeah, it's almost like one of the I guess games I can relate it to is I have what's it called? Welcome to the Moon. And it comes with is another one of those it's a flip and write, same type of thing, but you get like 8 to 12 different maps in the game. This one too, you get 8 maps. So it's like it adds that value, right? You have 8 different games in one package, right?
Hmm.
Which is pretty neat. And from a components standpoint as well, like you get a lot of cool stuff. The chits are nice. It's got a solo mode as well, which is always great. The solo mode, you take a little minute or a little chit of Bilbo, and you're essentially the Bilbo chit acts as a timer for the game. So it moves up. You get so many turns per level that you have to complete the objective, and I think you actually have to complete the objective in that time frame. And the sooner you do it, the more points you score. And at certain points, Bilbo will like cross out certain glory points that you can score uh, if you don't reach it there in time, right? So
Right.
it's a neat way of doing it, and it's fun too to play it solo, right? They did a good job of doing that as well. Not only creating a decent game to play with others, but like something that you could just kind of sit back and 15 minutes play out a game and then kind of move on, right?
I wondered, is it like a Scarbray where you're like, okay, you can play this multiplayer, but clearly this is meant to be a solo game.
Yeah, no, you know what? I would argue that it's better playing with somebody else.
Okay.
Um, the solo is nice, but I enjoy it more at two players, right? I have played it at I think three with my two eldest, um, but that not being adults, it can get a little silly where they start to just play and doodle and whatever. So
Yeah.
right.
I
But
looked and I didn't see more dice in the box, but there must be more dice.
no, so it's 5 dice. And then at more players, you're drafting those dice, and again, you get less dice the farther you are in turn order, right?
That's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Wow.
So it's like yeah, and especially when you get only 2 dice that have the resources on, if they're important resources, those go pretty quickly. And if you're third player, you're not getting it that round. But when it comes back around to you, if you roll and But it makes it really interesting for like the double resource rolls, because then it
Hmm.
becomes a really, oh, I'm going to give up do I give up the 3 square path die for a double bread die? That's a hard choice, right? Or I only rolled a single row or paths. Yeah, I'm going to take the double swords instead, right? That's just, the economy of that action is so much better, right? Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting at more players, but it plays well at two as well, right? You're just kind of back and forth. Though again, there's randomness. Maybe at 3 players, it might not feel. There might be enough people that I don't know. I don't know. It's fun. It's just a fun light game.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
enjoyed. I had fun with it solo, 2 players, three. I don't know if I've played it four, but sure, let's say four too. Yeah.
Yeah. So at three, one player is getting one die. The other two are getting two dice.
Hmm.
So you're
Hmm.
more susceptible to just getting screwed.
Trash. Yeah. Yeah.
And then at four players, obviously the first player to roll is getting two, everyone else is getting one, which also sounds interesting.
Yeah. 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 I think that's the way it is. It could be that you just trash some of the dice, but
Hmm.
don't recall now. But yeah, no, and
Hmm.
and 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 solo plays slightly different too, where you I think you have to like separate half the dice. So that becomes like you like
Oh,
separate
right.
the dice and do you take the 3 pile or do you take the 2 pile? Um, yeah, or it's like depending on where you kind of like throw the dice up and depending where they roll, you take like this half of the dice and you throw these 2 dice. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's interesting like that. But yeah, no, either way, it's a good time. It's a fun one. If you're looking for a light game, you like The Hobbit, then I don't think you can go wrong with this one.
And that wraps up another episode of the Current Plays podcast. Check us out next week on YouTube or your favorite podcast provider. But until then, good gaming and good night.
Good night, folks.